Joining me now, the assistant Democratic leader in the House of Representatives, Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina, a national co-chair of the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign. Congressman Clyburn, welcome back to the show. Your famous fish fry was last night. What are you hearing there about the Biden-Harris pitch of let's finish the job?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Jonathan. Last night was a great night. Our fish fry was not quite as big as 2019, but it was just as energetic. People are on fire for the Biden-Harris ticket, unlike anything I've seen in South Carolina before. And our guest speaker last night for the dinner, which took place just before the fish fry, was Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina. And he was on fire. I tell you, it was one of the best nights that I've experienced in South Carolina politics ever.
So, Congressman, in our recent NBC News poll, 48% of people who say they didn't want the president to run for another term say age is a major reason why he shouldn't run. Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor and candidate for the Republican nomination, had this to say, which was like a bank shot of a comment about Biden's age. Listen, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
He's announced his, that he's running again in 2024. And I think that we can all be very clear and say with a matter of fact that if you vote for Joe Biden, you really are counting on a President Harris, because the idea that he would make it until 86 years old is not something that I think is likely.
I mean, Congressman, that's a rather ghoulish thing to say, but your reaction to what she said about the president and her fear-mongering about Vice President Harris.
Well, I have two things to say about that. The first is this. Joe Biden's mother lived to be 92 years old, and my mother only lived to be 55 years old. Nobody has any guarantee on how long they're going to live. So it is very unfortunate for her to say something like that. I'm older than Joe Biden. I feel fine. I still don't know if I'll make it to sundown. This is the kind of foolishness we ought to keep out of politics. Let's stay focused on the issues and stop saying stuff like that. That is just very unbecoming of a presidential candidate and unbecoming, really, of a former governor of my home state of South Carolina.
And what about her bank shot remark about if you vote for him, you're really voting for President Harris?
Well, that would be a good thing. President Harris has demonstrated, Vice President Harris has demonstrated over the years that she's up to the job. She has been a big, I think, credit to this administration. Now, she's a woman and the first woman to ever hold the job, and not even to mention a minority from two perspectives, Asian American as well as African American. So that gives you a lot of scrutiny that you aren't going to get otherwise. But I think that she has measured up, and it all depends on what media people you talk to as to how well she's done. But I am very impressed with her. I'm very thankful that the president has had her on the ticket and is displaying her so prominently in his reelect. That video was very, very telling for me, and I think it ought to be for the country.
You know, Congressman, despite his many legal travails, Donald Trump keeps piling up endorsements. On Thursday, he snagged 50 of them in New Hampshire. He is the front runner for the Republican nomination. Is the White House giddy about a rematch, and should they?
No, I don't think they'll get it, and they should not be. I think that we have to be very, very careful. I remember the giddiness that some Democrats felt way back when Ronald Reagan was a nominee. Every campaign is unique unto itself. We have to run every campaign like we are behind, and I do believe we are going to do that. To the extent to which we can let the American people know that this record that Joe Biden has put together is a record that is good for them, for their families, and for their communities. And that's what we've got to do. I was so pleased when I saw the chart you had up there about third or fourth on the list was the PAC Act. Nobody's been talking about the PAC Act. But let me tell you something. Last night, when I talk about the PAC Act, that is the act that went back and picked up all those Vietnam veterans that did not get full benefits. They came back unceremoniously. And when veterans have found out what Joe Biden has done with the PAC Act, they are coming to the Democrats like veterans never came to Democrats before. The best friend that veterans got, the Democratic Party, and just look at what the Republican Party are trying to do as a ransom to pay off our debt. Get rid of veterans benefit, cap Medicare and Social Security, means testing Social Security. These kinds of things, the American people are seeing through them, and I expect for veterans to come to us in this next election like never before. Seniors will be coming to us like never before, because it's not their word that do it for them. It is their deeds.
And what's significant about your comment about veterans is that South Carolina has a very large veteran community in the Palmetto State. Let me get you on one more thing before I have to let you go. Speaker McCarthy got his bill, you mentioned it, got his bill that would lift the debt ceiling in exchange for serious spending cuts through the House, but by only 2 votes. Republicans say they think that this will force President Biden to come to the negotiating table. Does it?
Absolutely not. That bill is going to get over to the Senate. In fact, it may die somewhere around Statuary Hall before it ever gets over to the Senate. So it will be dead on arrival. And then that's when the negotiations start. The sensible people in the Senate will be sitting down with the White House. They'll hammer out something. And just like McConnell and Schumer did before, they'll come up with something that makes sense for the American people, makes sense for this White House, and I believe that's when we'll see the real negotiation. This thing that McCarthy did, he knows that's a joke. They just did something to get it out of the House, and he stepped out of the negotiations along with it.
Okay, this is a yes or no question because we're almost out of time. The president released his budget last month. Have you seen any indication that Speaker McCarthy will present a formal fiscal year 2024 budget?
No, he will not. He can't afford to do that because in order to satisfy that little element within his party that he has to satisfy to stay in power, he will have to keep a lot of dissatisfaction on the American people, and he's not prepared to do that. So I don't think he's going to come forward anything that's serious at all.